Outputting our coverage. It's what we do.
That's all we do every Thursday
At 5:30. College football.
College football.
Mountain West Conference.
Doesn't matter.
SEC
Is all that matters.
Nick Saban
Is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's all. Let's start the show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting edition of Outputting Our Coverage. Plenty to talk about this week, David, in contrast to weeks past.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to fit all this into one show, but we'll do our best.
Yeah, I got the March Madness kicking up. The first 4 games actually started yesterday, in contradiction of my tweet. I thought they started today.
Yeah, we will not call them round 1 games.
No, first 4. That's
Right.
all that they will be known as. Alabama spring practice getting started as well. But some big news coming out of the Alabama sports camp today. Athletic Director Mal Moore stepping down as Athletic Director of Alabama Sports. Surprising move to you?
I think so. I didn't see it coming. I also hadn't been listening a whole lot about it, but you had mentioned that he had some health concerns.
Yeah, he's been in the hospital for the past week or so with pulmonary complications, I guess. So the rumors have been there that his health was not where it had been in the past, but still kind of a surprising move to me, kind of out of nowhere. I've already seen a ton of articles popping up on such reputable websites as AL.com
Right.
about Mal Moore's legacy. I saw one headline saying Mal Moore will be most remembered person since Bear Bryant. What? Really?
Yeah, I mean, we're a really reactionary society, so everybody's going to say that. But no, Nick Saban's going to be remembered more than anybody.
Absolutely. I mean, Mal Moore, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's the same one who hired Mike Shula.
All the coaches before Saban, yes.
Yes. So I mean, you got to take the bad with the good too.
Right.
And truth be told, from what I've heard, getting Saban was not really even Mal Moore's doing. It was more board of trustees at Alabama pretty much said, you go and get Nick Saban or you might as well not come back. So
Right.
it's not like, he was pulling off some miracle getting Nick Saban there or anything.
We love to be in the moment, and so, recent memories with the national championships are going to do a lot to change maybe people's views on him.
Yeah, that's true, I guess, but I don't know. I mean, my thoughts on athletic directors, Mal Moore, one of the old guard type of athletic director, played football at Alabama, in the past, former coaches, former players, those are the guys who became athletic directors. I think today you need somebody with a business background
Right.
who knows how to navigate the business nature of football with all the TV contracts and just all the money at stake. You need somebody who knows about that.
Right. I don't think any coaches need to come in and do it, and mostly because every single sport now in college is a year-round sport.
Yeah. Between
Between recruiting, all the practices, all the TV stuff that you have to do now, I don't think a coach can handle the extra responsibilities.
Now, you kind of laughed when I told you this before the show, but, I wouldn't be totally caught off guard or totally surprised if Nick Saban ended up being athletic director as well. I mean, it's kind of unprecedented in college football, but I would be surprised if he wasn't at least asking about it. I mean, he wants ultimate control.
Right. I mean, if there's somebody who's going to do it, it will be the controlling, domineering micromanagement of Nick Saban. But
Yeah.
I think he kind of wants to be left alone to do his football thing. I really think that he would be inconvenienced by it.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, but at the same time, you're just making official what's probably already true. I think we can probably both agree that Nick Saban did not really work for Mal Moore.
No.
I mean, so
No.
It's not like the athletic director is actually Nick Saban's boss.
Which name has more clout? That's a pretty easy argument.
I mean, really, all you're doing there is cutting out a middleman, if you
Right.
will. But I don't know. I think you're right. Nick Saban probably doesn't want to be wasting his time managing, women's field hockey or whatever. So,
Right. Or gymnastics.
Yeah. Well, gymnastics. I mean, he probably wants to be associated with the winning programs at least. But
Right, but
I don't know. Anyway, so Alabama spring practice getting started this week. There are a couple practices in. As is more and more typical with spring practices these days, not a lot of super exciting or super unexpected news to report. Mostly, about the best news you can get is who's still hurt and who's not.
Right. Well, I mean, another reason behind that is all the regulations about when they can have pads and when they can't.
Right.
Nobody's hitting anybody.
Absolutely.
They're out there in shorts and a helmet.
Yep. So, really about all we know at this point. Alabama breaking in a couple of new coaches. Got Mario Cristobal on the offensive line. A couple other guys, a wide receivers coach,
right,
and I believe a defensive backs coach
defensive backs
as well.
Coach,
so, a couple new guys breaking in there.
A couple new guys at a couple new positions. Running back D. Hart is now at the cornerback position. There's also a wide receiver, Cyrus Jones, has been spotted working with the defensive back. So a lot of these guys, skill positions where they're bringing in a ton of players, kind of moving around just so that they can get some playing time.
Yeah, I mean, it seems from the moves that Nick Saban might be a little bit concerned about depth in the secondary this year. I mean, do you think that's possibly a weakness of this team going forward, or?
I don't know. I don't think as long as you have Saban really hovering over the defensive backs, I think they'll be fundamentally sound. Now, will they make some coverage mistakes? Probably. I don't think you'll have a problem with speed or athleticism, but there is potential for mistakes there. I think more than anything, this is just trying to get rid of a really crowded backfield. Maybe get rid of a couple competitors back there.
That's true. One of the newcomers to the Alabama backfield, running back Derrick Henry, getting a lot of positive feedback from some of his teammates this week. A couple of players on Alabama's team referring to him as a bigger and better Trent Richardson.
Right, already 2 days in. I don't know. I haven't seen him yet, but if he is, I mean, look out. What are you going to do now? Man. You have Fowler, Justin Fowler's coming back. You've got Yeldon, and then having another third option in there. Good luck. I mean, why did McCarron come back? All he's going to be doing is turn around handing the ball off.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before on the show. It kind of defies logic somewhat that all of these great running backs want to come to Alabama to share all the workload, but at the same time, the guys who've been there and done that, it's worked for them. They've gotten to the NFL. They've gotten what they wanted. So, I guess you can kind of look at it from the perspective of, if you're sharing the responsibility, then you're also reducing some of the risks that you may get hurt if you're not the one guy having to carry the whole load.
It's a good point. Another team that's experiencing that is Kentucky basketball.
Absolutely.
They had the shocker in being upset in the first round of the NIT against Robert Morris. And coach comes out afterwards saying, yeah, we're okay. This program's all right. We're moving forward. 3 of the guys at least are definitely coming back. They have 6 McDonald's All-Americans coming in.
I think they're going to be okay, David.
It's going to be.
To use a basketball analogy, they rebounded quickly.
Right, they did rebound quickly, but they've got to figure out how to get those guys in and actually working hard.
Yeah.
From a lot of the indications, a lot of the reports coming out. The problem with these kids is that when they came in, they were treated like national champions.
Yeah.
And they didn't do anything.
Well, and that's the risk you take when, you take the approach that John Calipari does at, he did it at Memphis and he's doing it at Kentucky now. When you handpick the best guys, you're going to have difficult egos to manage.
Right.
You're not going to get guys that are coming in with chips on their shoulders, really wanting to show what they can do and work hard. You're going to get some guys who think that they're all that, And
that's true.
Some years it's going to work out for you, like last year, and some years you're going to get like what you got this year, where you got the talent, but you just can't get it to mesh. So I don't know. I really enjoyed what I don't really care that much about basketball. We'll talk more about that as we get into our March Madness section, but
that's a way to pitch that new segment.
Yeah, sorry. I like March Madness, but just in general, like as far as individual college basketball teams, it's not like I hate Kentucky basketball or anything like that, but I really did enjoy watching them lose to Robert Morris last night.
That was pretty terrible.
I don't know why. It was just fun.
And Alabama with the huge win against Northeastern.
Yeah.
So,
it was kind of like a Hoosiers-esque moment, I guess. The gymnasium sort of seemed like
they have rollout wooden bleachers.
Yeah. And it's like Decatur High or something in there.
3,000 people stormed the court afterwards.
Yeah, I think they were mentioning last night that they had to do some research, but possibly the first ever first-round NIT court storming.
That's probably true.
Probably justified.
I think so.
Yeah.
You're Robert Morris, and you take down the defending national champions in the first round.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Go storm the court.
That's pretty good. So better than Auburn can say this year. At least they're, if only there was an NIT for football teams.
Right.
So because then we could have gone and lost in the first round of that one, I'm sure. Anyways, let's take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side. March Madness. Time to get your brackets in. David and I have made our official selections. We'll break down our picks for you after this. David, is it safe to do that? They still have time to pick. Can we do that?
If you want to copy our picks, just refer back to our football picking records, and that might shy you away from that.
That's a good call. All right, we'll be right back on the other side here on Outputting Our Coverage. Putting our coverage. David, March Madness officially here.
I'm hooked.
As we said, getting started last night with the non-first round, first four. And now we are moving into the real meat tomorrow. Tomorrow and Friday, my two favorite days of March Madness, by far.
I don't know my favorite. I'm addicted the moment they have Selection Sunday up until they play One Shining Moment, and then I hate it. But I'm not a One Shining Moment fan.
Shining Moment.
Right, yeah. So, but yeah, I love it all the way throughout, and it's going to be a little more difficult. This will be our second year without cable during March Madness, but I think we will make it through.
Well, can you not watch them online? Is that not an option for you? I know that last year they showed them all online.
A lot of CBS stuff, you have to have a login.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how all that works. I will be trying to work at the same time that I keep up with all of this over the next 2 days. It's going to be a very difficult balancing act, but that's just what it takes sometimes.
It does, and your IT department will love you.
Oh, yeah, I sit right next to the IT guy, actually, so I'm going to have to slip him a 5 or a 10. We'll see what happens with that one. So as far as I'm concerned, I cannot remember a more difficult year to make my selections.
No, it's terrible because in any given Sunday, any team can just knock off another one or look great at the same time.
Yeah, it's really... I got done putting my bracket together the other night, and I really just thought about completely starting over. But I didn't, because I realized it would probably be about the same. But
so do you fill out one bracket a year?
Yeah, I just do one bracket. I don't understand the multiple bracket thing.
I like the multiple bracket. Okay, I do the one for the show, but then on ESPN, I've got to admit, I have 7 brackets.
How does that work? How do you justify that internally?
I've done this for years. I do one that's straight up. I pick all higher seeds to win. I do one that is what would happen if the NCAA imploded and just went crazy, which is where I think I ended up having Ole Miss, Oregon, LIU, Brooklyn, and South Dakota State in my Final Four.
Oh, that's pretty reasonable,
right?
I think.
And then I go through, because I would love to see that year.
Absolutely.
That year would be amazing.
Yeah.
But then I go through and I just have different variations. I don't know. I have fun filling out brackets.
Okay, I mean that's fine. I think me personally, I can only keep up with one. I'm a very black and white kind of person. So
let's put it this way.
I don't see color.
If any of the brackets drop below 40%, I'd ignore them for the rest of the time. Right,
dead to you. All right, let's do this. I don't know if we want to spoil the whole bracket for everybody, and really I don't know if anybody cares about that.
Let's go ahead and just do real quick, because I know some people haven't gotten a chance to look at the brackets yet. We'll go ahead and just give them what the matchups are.
Okay.
But
that's fine.
If you haven't, you can either go to funofficepools.com and log in and sign up, or you can go to outputtingourcoverage.wordpress.com. At the end of our latest article, there's a link to join this bracket pool. But
yes,
you want to start with Region 1?
Yes, let's start with Region 1, which is actually what the West, East, South,
I'm not sure.
North?
Right, it's one of those.
Midwest.
Region 1.
There is no North region, is there?
There isn't.
That doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, top seed in that region, top overall seed, Louisville. They will be playing North Carolina A&T, who won their first 4 game against Liberty.
By 1. Right? They beat a team with 20 losses by 1.
Yeah, so probably won't work out well for them.
So you got Louisville there?
Yes.
I also have Louisville.
Definitely.
Right.
All right, then we got an 8 seed, Colorado State versus 9 seed, Missouri. I don't know anything about Colorado State. Missouri, still not really sure why everybody was so high on them, but I'm going to take them there.
Yeah, I took Missouri. Colorado State, pretty big defensive team, but Missouri is frenetic in SEC.
All right, then we got a 5-seed Oklahoma State versus 12-seed Oregon. Again, I don't know much about either of these teams. Seen a lot of chatter that Oregon may have been a little bit underrated at 12, so I thought, why not hop on that train?
Did you seriously pick Oregon?
I
picked Oregon as well. That was going to be one of my upsets. Yeah, they got jilted. They won the Pac-12 championship and they're 12 seed.
Yeah, that's just crazy. All right, 4-seed St. Louis versus 13-seed New Mexico State. Due to David's brainwashing, I picked St. Louis in that one.
Of course you did. I also picked the Billikens.
It worked. All right, 6-seed Memphis versus 11-seed Middle Tennessee, or help me out,
St. Mary's. St. Mary already won,
right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. But so I'm going to take Memphis here.
Yeah, I also took Memphis.
Okay. 3-seed Michigan State, 14-seed Valparaiso.
I've got Michigan State.
Yes. Never doubt Tom Izzo during tournament time.
Yeah.
You don't hear much about Michigan State during the year, but tournament time, you better start paying attention.
That's right.
So, all right, then we got 7-seed Creighton versus 10-seed Cincinnati. Going to take the Creighton Blue Jays in that one, just
father-son duo.
They normally have some pretty talented white guys on the team. So
the son has set all kinds of scoring records, and his dad is the head coach.
Yeah, so good deal for there. And then we got number 2, the Dukies versus Albany. Going to take Duke there.
Yeah, Duke, definitely.
All right. Do you want to keep going in that region?
Let's go down to the Final Four. Who
Four.
Comes out of that? Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess this is going to get kind of difficult.
Well, no, we both got Louisville, Missouri.
Okay. Louisville, definitely.
I picked Louisville, although I did struggle because they play very similar styles of basketball.
That's true.
But I did take Louisville at the end.
Okay.
Oregon, St. Louis.
St. Louis. Brainwashed.
I took St. Louis.
Brainwashed.
Memphis, Michigan State.
Tom Izzo.
Yeah, Michigan State, and then Creighton and Duke.
Duke.
So far we're exactly identical.
Yep.
Louisville versus St. Louis.
Yeah, man, Cardinals hopping on that train right now.
That's actually a tough one. I think St. Louis gives them a real struggle. I think it's a 1 or 2 point game, but I did take Louisville.
All right.
Michigan State, Duke. That's a tough one.
Tom Izzo.
I actually took Duke.
Duke, to me, underachieved this year. I know they haven't.
Definitely did.
They haven't had their starting 5.
They've
on
come
the floor
together
for
in the last couple
games,
weeks.
but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Michigan State this time of year, I got a feeling.
Okay.
So that's where I'm going.
So you've got Louisville, Michigan State. Who do you have coming out?
Louisville, man.
Louisville. All right.
Earlier on, you asked me who I thought was going to win the national championship. I said Louisville, just with blind guessing, and I'm sticking to that.
Oh,
right now.
That's awesome. I hope they lose in the second round.
It will probably happen.
And I've got Duke beating Michigan State. I have Duke beating Louisville. So I've got Duke as coming out of the region number 1 in the Final Four. You've got Louisville?
I've got Louisville.
Louisville over Michigan State.
Yep.
So that's region 1.
All right. Let's move on to region 2. Other side of the bracket. Your starlet, Kansas, number 1 versus Western Kentucky. Not much question there.
Yeah, I've got Kansas.
All right. Then we got North Carolina sliding in at an 8 seed. Tough game against Villanova.
I think Villanova is a little overhyped, to be honest with you, in the media right now. I took North Carolina.
All right, I did as well, setting up an interesting matchup there between Roy Williams, former Kansas coach, now coach of North Carolina.
It's not the first time they've met up.
No, definitely not. All right, and then we got VCU, coached by Shaka Smart. Playing Akron. VCU a 5 seed, Akron a 12 seed. I think, again, you don't bet against a guy like Shaka Smart this time.
I don't know. I almost picked Akron. Akron actually is coached by Shaka Smart's mentor,
really?
who taught him the system. They run the same system.
So they know how to defend it.
They know how to defend it, and he's been running it longer. But I did take VCU.
Yeah,
all that said.
Probably a little more talent.
Took Shaka.
You would guess.
That's right.
All right, then we got Michigan at a 4 seed, maybe a little bit underrated at that 4 seed, against South Dakota State at 13 seed. To me, no question here.
Yeah, I picked Michigan.
UCLA a 6 seed, Minnesota an 11 seed. 2 teams kind of flying way under the radar. Haven't heard much about either one of them this year.
If you're looking for an upset, this might be one for you if you haven't filled out your bracket yet. UCLA really kind of trying to find their identity. Not really sure who they are. They also lost one of their leading scorers recently. Minnesota, though, they've lost, out of their last 11, they've lost 9.
Yeah.
So
not a good streak going in.
It's not. I picked UCLA just because they're slightly more on fire than Minnesota.
All right, I'm going to take Minnesota in that one.
Okay.
Well, just like I said, kind of go either way there.
Right.
Florida, the 3 seed, playing
Northwestern State.
Northwestern.
We'll just call that.
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah, Florida
We'll go there. San Diego State, a 7 seed, playing Oklahoma at a 10 seed. I just kind of don't know anything about either of these teams. Went Oklahoma. Why not?
Okay, I took San Diego State. They play a little bit better ball here recently, and I'm just going to take them.
All right. And then rounding out that region, Georgetown, 2 seed, playing Florida Gulf.
Florida Gulf Coast. Now, if you want to know some interesting behind the basketball scenes news, go research Florida Gulf Coast, their coach, and the coach's wife. Apparently, the coach has married some kind of swimsuit model, and ESPN is running with that.
All right.
They love it. And Florida, if you're a student at Florida Gulf Coast, your dorms right on a beach.
Okay. So what you're telling me is if you're a 15 seed playing a 2 seed, you really don't need any distractions if you want to win that game. Sounds like they got some distractions. So I'm going to go ahead and say Georgetown.
I also picked Georgetown. Florida Gulf Coast actually could have been ranked a little higher. They had a pretty good season.
Yeah. All right. So let's roll down to round 2 here. We both have Kansas and North Carolina facing each other.
I've got Kansas.
I'm going to take Kansas rolling through that one. Then we got VCU, Michigan. I really like Michigan. I like Big Ten teams this year. I'm going to take Michigan through that one.
I really like VCU. I think Michigan's a little overrated. I took VCU.
All right. Then we go down to, guess what? You have UCLA, Florida. I've got Minnesota, Florida. Regardless, I'm going to take Florida.
We both took Florida.
And then we got Oklahoma, Georgetown, or San Diego State, Georgetown.
Georgetown moving on.
We've got down to the Sweet 16 here. I've got Kansas and Michigan. And I'm going to take Michigan through that one again.
Oof. Okay, well, I'm sticking with Kansas, so I got Kansas moving on.
All right, and then at the bottom we got Florida and Georgetown in the Sweet 16. Tough one for me.
Definitely. This is the one that took me the longest.
I went Georgetown just because Florida has been a very inconsistent team this year, and they have not been very good in close games.
And that's true. They're 0-6 in close games. All their wins have come by double digits. I took Florida because Georgetown struggles to find opportunities to score against good defense. So I took Florida in that one. This one, interesting enough, is a rematch of what they tried to play in the first week of the season on a battleship. But it got too wet, and they canceled
Couldn't do it. Yeah. Well, to me, a reservation with any SEC team this year is the SEC teams, strange enough as it is to say, have not really been tested.
That's true.
Playing in conference. So Georgetown probably plays some better competition.
So I like this. We're much different here. So I've got Kansas, Florida. You have Michigan and Georgetown.
Correct.
Who do you have coming out?
I got Michigan going to the Final Four, man. Okay. I'm telling you, Big Ten teams this year.
That's going to decide our bracket because I have Michigan losing in round 2. So I've got Kansas in the Final Four. And I think that wraps up Region 2.
All right, Region 2. Moving on to Region 3 headlines.
Bottom left of your bracket.
Yes, headlined by number 1, Gonzaga, who David has been hating on constantly for the past couple of weeks.
I hate Gonzaga.
They're playing Southern University. They'll at least get through that one.
As much as it pained me to hit Gonzaga on that one, yes I did.
They'll make it through there. 8 seed Pitt playing 9 seed and perennial NCAA participator Wichita State Shockers.
Right. I actually took Pitt. I really like what they've done this year, kind of rebounding from a terrible year last year. I listened to the Wichita State game where they were playing their national championship and really struggling to score. They're just not being able to put it together. I'm taking Pitt.
I can't root against a team whose nickname is Shockers.
Well,
so that is my rationale there.
Good justification.
Number 5, Wisconsin, playing 12 seed Ole Miss. Really, the only way Ole Miss got in was winning the SEC tournament. I've seen a lot of folks who don't know how to place Ole Miss in this tournament. Marshall Henderson, lightning rod, very difficult to predict how this team's going to perform.
I'm big into teams that are hot coming in, and Ole Miss is hot. They've got, and especially they're a bunch of shooters. They're very streaky shooters. Wisconsin plays suffocating defense. But I took Ole Miss in the shocker right here.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go with Wisconsin. Like you said, suffocating defense. I don't think they're going to be intimidated by Marshall Henderson at all. Playing in the Big Ten, they've seen a lot better players than that.
Oh, yeah, but this 5-12 is where you get a bunch of upsets.
That's true. Traditionally, a lot of 12 seeds moving on to Sweet 16, sometimes even further. So we'll see what happens there. Number 4 seed, Kansas State, playing the winner of Boise State and LaSalle.
That's playing tonight.
Yes, that's a first 4 game tonight. Regardless, Boise State should probably stick to football. LaSalle sounds like some sort of women's school, so I'm going to take Kansas State.
I also took Kansas State, but our president took the winner of this game without even seeing who won it.
Yeah. Well, our president makes a lot of good decisions, David. So
and moving on.
Yeah. All right. 6 seed Arizona, 11 seed Belmont. Belmont out of Nashville, kind of local school. They've
a lot of people picking them to win this game.
They've been in the tournament for the past couple of years. I don't know. This is a tough one. I went Arizona just, based on the seeding probably, but
I like Arizona maybe more than a lot of people do. I remember them from earlier this year where they were on fire. They're a pretty solid team, and they're kind of big. Belmont's a little undersized, so I took Arizona. I think they're going to win on the boards.
All right. 3 seed New Mexico, a really good team who a lot of people probably aren't aware of, playing a 14 seed Harvard.
Really smart.
I mean, Harvard has had a pretty good squad in the past couple of years.
Jeremy Lin.
Yeah, but still, New Mexico, I think, despite the fact a lot of people aren't aware of them, they're a good team. They're going to win that one.
The Lobos play big. Yeah. Harvard is again undersized. I took size.
All right. Then we got 7 seed Notre Dame playing 10 seed Iowa State.
Iowa State can rain down the threes. I think if they get hot, kind of like the Ole Miss, they could really make a run in this tournament, but I did pick them to upset Notre Dame.
All right, I'm going with Notre Dame there. Not really sure why, but just felt like it. All right, number 2, Ohio State playing 15 seed Iona. Ohio State for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, again, Big Ten teams. All right, then moving on to round 2 of Region 3, Gonzaga versus either Pitt or Wichita State. What are you doing here?
I've got Pitt with the upset. I think if they get to this second round, they really match up well against Gonzaga. They could really slow the game down, make it a crawler. I've got Pitt in the upset.
All right, I'm going to stick with Gonzaga. Really not a lot of quality competition for them until a little bit later on in the bracket, in my opinion. All right, then we got Wisconsin or Ole Miss versus Kansas State.
I've got Kansas State beating Ole Miss.
All right, I'm going to take Wisconsin over Kansas State. So we got some differences.
I'm loving it
happening here. All right, then we go down to Arizona versus New Mexico. Both of us have that matchup.
I've got Arizona moving on.
Really?
I do.
I'm surprised to hear you say that.
I really think that in the bigs versus bigs, Arizona can speed up the game a little better than New Mexico can. Arizona, I think, is a little more flexible in how they can play their game.
All right, I'm going to stick with the Lobos in that one. I might come to regret it. We'll see. Notre Dame, Ohio State would be a great football matchup. Not as good of a basketball matchup. Ohio State rolls in that one.
I think if Iowa State can get hot Iowa State can get hot behind the three-point line, they have a chance to win. But I really like what Ohio State's doing coming into this tournament. I picked the Buckeyes.
All right, so then our Elite Eight round
are very different. I've got Pitt versus Kansas State.
Yeah,
I took Kansas State moving on in that one.
Okay. I've got Gonzaga and Wisconsin. Again, I'm going to take Gonzaga moving on in that one. I don't know, just kind of a gut feel.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, then at the bottom I got New Mexico, Ohio State. Again, Ohio State just too good.
Right, I've got Arizona, Ohio State, and I've got Ohio State moving on. If a couple things fall in this bracket, Ohio State's got the easiest road to the Final Four of any team.
Absolutely. So, we're right here on the cusp of the Final Four in this region. I've got Gonzaga, Ohio State. Again, going to take Ohio State moving on.
I've got Kansas State, Ohio State. Again, Ohio State. They're a really complete team.
Yep. All right. So that rounds us out for Region 3. Ohio State going to the Final Four there. And the final region, Region 4, we got 1 seed Indiana versus 16 seed Long Island, or what is that, James Madison?
James Madison,
yeah.
Long Island, Brooklyn.
Yes, Indiana for sure going to win that one.
Also have Indiana.
Yep. All right. Then we got 8 seed NC State versus 9 seed Temple. NC State coached by former Alabama coach Mark Gottfried. He's really put together a nice squad up there.
He has. They're very athletic, but they play no defense almost, so they're in a lot of close games. I've got NC State winning on pure athleticism.
As do I. Then we got 5 seed UNLV versus 12 seed Cal. Not the UNLV of the 90s.
No running Rebs.
Yeah, but still, again, a 5-12 possible upset here, but I'm going to take UNLV.
I'm taking the 12. I've got Cal. They've got the Pac-12 Player of the Year, can really light it up. Plays big in big games. UNLV's been kind of playing down to their competition, so I've got Cal moving on.
All right, then we got number 4 Syracuse playing 13 seed Montana. Syracuse, a team who really looked like they had Louisville put away. than just let Louisville come storming back. And over the last portion of the season, Syracuse really struggled.
Kind of fell off the map. I've still got Syracuse beating Montana.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a harbinger of things to come.
I got you.
All right. Then we got number 6, Butler, the everyone's favorite Cinderella from the past couple of years.
Playing another Cinderella.
Yes, Bucknell, an 11 seed. I think I've become ingrained to think of Butler as a winning team now, so I took him here.
Well, a lot of people are picking Bucknell, and almost the only reason you can see is they say, well, they have almost a 7-footer. I don't really care. I'm taking Butler in this one.
Yeah. All right. 3 seed Marquette versus 14 seed Davidson.
I picked Marquette, but I would not be surprised at all if Davidson comes up and upsets them right here.
Wow, that's a 14 seed.
A 14 seed. They're really solid. They don't have one star player. They play well together, and all of them can shoot.
All right. I'm going to take Marquette there as well. Illinois 7 seed versus Colorado 10 seed. Again, Big Ten.
Yeah,
Illinois.
I took Illinois.
Yep. All right. And then we got Miami, possibly the hottest team in the country, number 2, playing Pacific at number 15. No question to me, Miami there.
I agree, and they're a little ticked off because they're the only ACC team who's ever won the regular season title, the postseason title, and still not gotten a 1 seed.
Well, when you're an ACC team not named Duke or North Carolina, people don't pay as much attention, I guess.
This is true.
I don't know. It happens. All right, so let's move on to round 2 here. We both have got Indiana versus NC State.
I've got Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana rolls through that one. UNLV versus Syracuse.
I've got Cal Syracuse.
All right. I'm going to take UNLV there. I think Syracuse makes an early exit.
See, I've got Syracuse just because they're playing the 12-seed Cal, but maybe they find their rhythm.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see what happens there. Then we both, I believe, have Butler and Marquette.
I've got Marquette moving on.
All right. I'm going to take Butler there. Okay. And then we got Illinois and Miami.
Miami.
Yeah, Miami, no question, rolls through there as well. All right, moving on to the Sweet 16, Indiana and UNLV or
Indiana,
Syracuse.
Right. I've got Indiana moving on.
As do I. Then at the bottom, we either have Butler or Marquette facing Miami.
Miami.
Yeah, Miami moving on for me as well. So we got a pretty good game in the Elite Eight there, Indiana and Miami.
I would watch that one.
That'd be a nice one if we get it.
I've got Indiana moving on.
I do as well. All right, so.
We're at our Final Four.
Got our Final Four.
Who do you have in your Final Four?
All right, so my Final Four, on the left side I got Louisville and Ohio State. Right side, Michigan and Indiana. So, yes, folks, you're counting correctly. That is 3 Big Ten teams in my Final Four.
I've got Duke, Ohio State, and Kansas, Indiana.
Okay.
I think in the Duke, Ohio State, that's going to be a nail-biter. I think it really comes down to the end. But I just think Ohio State, really a solid team all the way around. I'm putting them in the final.
All right, so on that side, I've got Louisville, Ohio State. I'm going to take Louisville into the championship game.
Okay, on the other side, I've got Kansas, Indiana. Indiana, really solid team all the way around, but I said Kansas would win it a month ago. I said if I had to pick now, I'd pick them. I just like them in close games. I think they have the people who can make the shot.
All right, on the right side, I got Michigan, Indiana. I'm going to take Indiana in that one.
In a rematch.
Recapturing the magic there. Louisville, Indiana, my championship game. And it sounds like both of us sticking to our guns, David. You picked Kansas to win months ago. I picked Louisville to win, just guessing, and that's what I'm going to stick with.
There we go. All right, I'm sticking with Kansas. Did you know, fun fact, in the last 10 years, a team without the color blue has not won a championship?
Well, that bodes well for you then, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe not so well for me, but, streaks are made to be broken, David.
This is true.
All right.
Well, that is our bracket recap.
That's the bracket recap. Tune in next week as we lament at how bad our brackets already are.
Right. Or I actually pre-lamented on the blog.
Yes. I mean, we know what's going to happen. The best laid plans of mice and men, so forth and so on. Anyways, brackets are happening. Make sure to get yours in on funofficepools.com. As David mentioned, we'll have the link to join the bracket on our Twitter, which is at OutputOurCover. We'll put it on our Facebook page as well. You can find us on Outputting Our Coverage on Facebook. Also at our blog site, www.outputtingourcoverage.wordpress.com. You'll be able to find the link to join the pool there. Lots of great entry names already.
Oh, yes.
So
we have some great entries.
You almost want to go join just to see the names of other people's entries.
Trust me, it's worth your time.
Yes, it's definitely worth your time. Definitely worth your time to stick around through this commercial break. We're going to be right back on the other side Got an interesting thing to talk about, David. Are you familiar with the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit against the NCAA?
I am, since 2 o'clock this afternoon.
All right, it's really interesting, kind of flying under the radar for a lot of people, but it could have some big ramifications on college sports as we know it. We'll break down the basics and discuss those implications on the other side. Here about putting our coverage. All right, welcome back into outputting our coverage. As we mentioned before the break, really interesting lawsuit going on right now, and has been going on against the NCAA as a whole
For years.
For years, as lawsuits tend to do, kind of dragging out. I mean, the gist of the lawsuit, we don't need to get into too many of the particulars, but an age-old argument that college players should get a piece of the pie.
Right, and really Ed O'Bannon probably has more of an argument than anybody I've seen, because he's claiming that they used his likeness and image well beyond when he graduated college.
Right. So, only fair, I think, to argue that, if you're getting paid based off of my image, I deserve a piece of that revenue.
I agree.
And people can argue the other way, too, that, well, you got a free education and this and all that. I mean, we're not here to decide on that. We're not here to offer our opinions on what we think is right.
Although we're qualified.
Yeah, although we were most qualified to do so. Really, the interesting thing about this was some comments that Jim Delaney, Big Ten commissioner, made this week, which may or not be entirely truthful, but basically the gist of his comments was that if this lawsuit were to go through and the NCAA was forced to start paying its players for compensation for their likeness, he suggested that the Big Ten would have to switch to a Division III athletic model, much like the Ivy League, with no scholarships, a de-emphasis on athletics. Scare tactics or realistic?
Oh, scare tactics. But Jim Delaney is my favorite president ever. He does this on a quarterly basis.
He's a fearmonger.
He is, and I absolutely love it, because some of the stuff that he mentions is insane. They're not going to go D3. They're not going to explore any other options. They're not going to cut athletics. But I just thought that was hilarious that he wrote this letter to a judge.
Yeah, honestly, the way I think it really works is Mike Slive is the one who sits back, the SEC commissioner. He sits back and it comes up with all these things, and then he passes a note in the back of the class to Jim Delaney, and Jim Delaney's just the one stupid enough to say it. So,
right.
He's the one they make do that. But,
I'm so glad he does, too.
What I could realistically see happening here, I think, there's a very unrealistic chance of the Big Ten switching to a Division III athletic model.
That's not happening.
There is a realistic chance that this lawsuit goes through, and
right.
That the NCAA is forced to pay its players. But what I think might happen at that point is that the really big schools will break off from the NCAA and form some new group that is immune from that.
You've mentioned this several times. I've said more than several times that I don't think we'll see it in our lifetime. If this were to pass, I could see that happen.
I think it might.
This could be the needle that really, or the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah.
I can't see it any other way. But that would do it. In my opinion, do you pay the players who are there now? No. You're giving them a scholarship. You're giving them an education. Do you pay them? No. You pay the ones that you decide to use after they leave.
I think that's fair.
If you're going to have some legends team, or if you're going to have the greatest teams, then pay them out of that. But
I think that's a very fair compromise. I mean, really, if we dig a little bit deeper into this, you always want to follow the money for how these decisions made. And if you think about, if it were to come to a point where the NCAA does have to pay all of its players, what are these teams really afraid of? I don't think it's necessarily that it's going to break their bank to have to pay their players. I mean, that's something that they could do. I think what they're afraid of is that, much like the new recruiting rules, the SEC would go crazy with it.
Yes.
And that's why the Big Ten is very concerned. That's why they're making noise, because they know if this happens and schools are allowed to start paying players, there is no chance that anyone will ever be able to beat SEC teams again.
And just think about all the options that you have to pitch to a new recruit. Location, coach, family history. Now you have
Money.
Yeah.
I mean, really?
Percent of cut.
Yeah. I think that's what they're afraid of. It's not,
I'd almost like to see that, to be honest with you.
It's not that they wouldn't be able to afford to pay the players. It's that they wouldn't be able to afford to pay the players as much as, say, Alabama does.
Right. I'm so terribly against paying players, but I would be for seeing this new system.
Yeah.
Just in the chaos that it.
Yeah, I mean,
that it would bring.
I think it would work for a couple of years. They would do it, and then then people would break off and do something.
They would regulate it to the point where you can't spend any money.
It would get to the point of ridiculosity. So, speaking of ridiculosity, some big news out of the dating world. How many times have we said that on this show?
It's already ridiculous to say.
So your good buddy Tiger Woods.
Oh yeah.
If you don't know who Tiger Woods is, he plays golf. He's a professional golfer.
He might as well be the only one in America.
Yes. He, if you don't know, ran into some marital problems a couple years ago.
Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, he ran into...
Quite literally.
Right.
But it turns out, all of his sorrow and sadness is now gone. He's found
sex addiction.
Yes. Yeah, I guess he kind of did have a sex addiction, too.
Right.
Kind of left out that part, didn't he? It's kind of interesting because now he's found someone new, David.
Lindsey Vonn.
Very
highly decorated.
We've talked about her on the show before.
Downhill skier.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago we mentioned that she won the downhill race series or whatever, even though she didn't participate in the last race because she was so far ahead. It turns out Tiger Woods are dating.
Right, and actually came out with some pretty professionally done dating pictures.
Yeah, which is totally normal.
Right, so the paparazzi wouldn't come follow them, which was weird, but... The real interesting part to me is that Lindsey Vonn was asked when the whole Tiger Woods thing happened, and she ripped Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
When asked by reporters, and said that she could never trust a guy like that. Eating those words, huh?
Yeah. Well, to me, David, let's say if you didn't know anything about what Lindsey Vonn looked like. For instance, I'm picking a characteristic out of a hat here. What color hair do you think she might have?
Maybe blonde? How about skin color white?
No.
Yeah.
No, really?
Almost looks Swedish?
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting, huh?
Maybe there's a type there.
Really, really interesting. All right, so let's move back to something a little bit more normal here. We got a few minutes left in the show. NFL maybe doing things about as stupid as Tiger Woods.
Is that National Flag League? Is that what they're
No Fun League.
No Fun League?
Yes, that's what it stands for.
They've come out with a couple of new rules after the owners' meetings. One of them is that you can only have 6 players per side when blocking a field goal. Nobody really cares. Another one, which was needed, the chop block, or the cut peel back block as it's called, downfield is now illegal anywhere on the field. The stupid coaches challenge, where they throw a challenge on an unreviewable play. Yeah. It's no longer unreviewable. They'll still get a penalty. It was a booth reviewable play, but at least they'll review it now and get the call right. But there will be a penalty attached. The crazy one that everybody's talking about is that now this has been enacted. Runners or ball carriers on offense who are outside of 3 yards from the line of scrimmage or outside the tackle box cannot lower their head and hit with the crown of their helmet, or it's a 15-yard penalty.
So is it that they're not allowed to lower their head at all, or is it they're just not allowed to make contact with the helmet?
The crown
first?
Of their helmet,
yeah.
I think, is where they're making that.
Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but, lowering your head and lowering your shoulders is a pretty fundamental tenet of being a power running back, right?
Jim Brown said he never did it.
Yeah.
He's come out in support of the rule. He said he used his forearm hands to get defenders off. So
interesting.
Not typically the crown. That's where you get the accordion spine, and you get a lot of neck and back injuries.
Right.
But bucking up for a big hit.
Yeah. I mean, I guess realistically, you should still.
Doesn't exist anymore,
really?
So
all right, well, always rule changes in the NFL, always something to talk about. We'll be back next week breaking down our terrible brackets. Enjoy yourself watching college basketball this weekend, folks. We'll see you next week on Outputting Our Coverage.